I spilt milk on my notebook this morning. Welcome to Lost All Caps. I feel like I just need to get it out of the way now, because I'm going to be distracted the entire time.
By the milk situation.
Yeah. We were watching this episode and making notes this morning while we were eating breakfast, and I tried to write something and then the bowl tipped over, and then I went to the kitchen and I got the kitchen roll and there was one sheet left on the roll.
And the roll is still on the floor. I didn't realise I left it there. The empty kitchen roll.
Oh man, it was time. And my page is now all like wrinkly and it kind of smells bad. I feel a bit like Sawyer, you know, when he picks up that shirt and he's like, oh, he peed on it, he peed on my shirt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like, there's milk on my book the entire time.
Well, you know, don't cry over spilled milk.
It's usually me making the terrible jokes.
Yeah. We've switched over. Yeah.
So that's fun. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm Ariel.
And I'm Velvet. And this is episode 16, Outlaws.
Mm-hmm. How are you anyway this week, before we get into it?
I'm good, yeah. It's been, you know, standard week.
Standard week. I have some exciting Lost-related news.
Oh yeah?
From this week. So I met up with a friend of mine, Maisie. Hello, if you're listening, Maisie. Love you. I've literally not seen her in years. Like, in fact, I remember the last time I saw her, because the last time I saw her was the day that the Queen died. I was with her when we found out that the Queen had died.
You always remember where you were.
You do. You really
I don't
do.
remember where I was, actually, when the Queen... I think I was just at home. I feel like I got a text on, like, a group chat. I do remember, actually. I was in an Instagram group chat with all my friends from college, and one of my friends was, like, going off about something else. She was having this, like, rant about something, and then right at the end of it, it was just a message that said, "The Queen's dead!"
Love that.
It was really funny.
Yeah, so when was that? Like, 2021?
22.
22? Well, anyway, that's a good couple years, right?
Yeah.
I've not seen her, and it's, you know, it was really lovely to catch up, and we had, like, a coffee, and we spent, like, you know, the first sort of hour or so talking about our lives, what's happened to us in the past couple years, and then she suddenly went, but enough about all that. I have seen on your Instagram that you're doing a Lost-themed podcast. I had no idea, but it turns out she's a huge Lost fan and has been for years, like the entire time that I've known her.
That's crazy.
And then we spent 3+ hours just talking about Lost.
That's so classic as well. That's how Lost conversations go. They always go...
Oh, yeah.
For hours.
It went on for ages, and I was like, I love that this is the most important thing that we have to discuss.
Yeah. Enough about that. Let's talk about
Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got to get her on at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
She's
We'll
so much fun. She's got some great theories. And also, we had some professional disagreements, shall we say, about the biscuit ranking. So I think we need to get her on to voice her views on that.
Interesting.
A heated debate vis-a-vis biscuits.
Yeah, we did have a biscuit. I had a conversation with my friend who's a Lost fan about the biscuit ranking, but he was just like, he wanted to know what I would have picked for other characters, like side characters and stuff.
Ah, okay.
And we were debating like what biscuit is Christian, and I was like, oh my god, I don't know. Arrowroot.
Yeah, probably.
I was like, did you think I was accurate then? He was like, yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting. We're getting the full... it's the most divisive piece of content that we've ever put out, I think.
It really is.
Yeah, it's gotten people talking.
It's cutting edge.
It is.
You know, finger on the pulse.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I feel like, you know, today we're back on track in terms of my outfit. We were too colourful last week.
Yeah, so we've definitely brought it back.
Full black. Back in black, is what I am. So you know, that's good.
Yeah.
Although I'm freezing.
Yeah, it's very cold in here in this living room, and you have short sleeves.
I feel like I did this really early on. It was like the height of summer.
Yes, you
and
had
I
that big
wore
dress on,
a
really cast out.
long, and I nearly overheated, and now I'm like here in the middle of winter in this like. And also, side note, it's like, what, 3 p.m. now? Which means over the course of this podcast, it's gonna get dark.
Yep.
The sun is gonna set because it's winter and the sun sets at 4 p.m. Which means the video, if you're watching on Instagram and I've cut together something where, like, it's light 1 second and then pitch black the next.
The lighting is gonna...
You know why.
Yeah, it's gonna flick around.
So it's gonna be an exciting episode this week, I think.
Yeah, for many reasons.
For many reasons, if not only the lighting.
Do you know what is an exciting thing that happened this week?
What?
We had not the first instance, but an exciting second instance of characters showing up in each other's backstories.
Yes.
So we had a very brief Sawyer cameo in Hearts and Minds.
Is that the first one? Is that the first flashback crossover?
I think so. Because I remember thinking it was really, really funny when it first happened. I don't think I would have if it had happened again.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And yeah, we met Christian in Australia with
Yes.
Sawyer today, which was very exciting.
It certainly is.
I remember, like, when we were watching the episode, it was like the previously on, I had like loads of Jack and Christian flashbacks, and I was
Yeah.
like, this can't be a Jack episode, surely. Yeah, we've already had 2 of them. Surely we don't get a third one before we get like another one from any of the other characters. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's talk about that for a second. I remembered this episode, but I thought it happened in series 2, because I thought we only got 1 Sawyer flashback episode in the first series.
Yeah, see, I didn't really remember. I think my sort of memory of the flashbacks, they're all very separate in my head. Like, I feel like the flashbacks of this episode don't necessarily follow the same, like, story arc as they normally do.
Yeah.
Because, like, the initial flashback where Sawyer's a little kid, I remember that, I mean, so vividly.
Of course.
And I knew that was in series 1, but, like, I couldn't have told you what story it was attached to.
Right.
And, like, I knew that, like, the scene with Christian and Sawyer in the bar happened in this series, but I didn't know when that was. And, like, we discussed something we kept track of when we were first watching it was, like, do we know why they're in Australia yet? Because that was often the first flashback you get, is you know why they were on the plane. And this is, like, obviously our first Sawyer flashback was just in America. So this is, like, why was he on the plane?
Yeah, I'm
moment.
trying to remember. I think by the end of, is that milk?
No, it was your juice. Ariel's juice is all over my laptop.
What? How did that happen?
Well, I don't know.
Oh my god, I'm spilling everything today.
Fucking mess. Mess of a woman.
Sorry! I'm sorry. I forgot what I was saying.
Yeah, sorry.
I think by the end of series 1, you find out why every character was on the plane. I think.
I think so. I mean, don't quote us on that.
We'll find out.
But I do
together.
think you find out where they all... Maybe... Because, I mean, let's look at it. Who do we know? Obviously, we know why Claire's in Australia. She lives there. Charlie, Jack, Kate, Sawyer, John. Is that everyone? Michael and Walt. We
Michael
know
and
why they
Walt,
were all in
yes.
Australia. We
Boone
don't...
and Shannon. We
Boone
know
and
why they
Shannon,
were.
yes. So, yeah, everyone we've had flashbacks for so far apart from Saeed.
And Sun.
Oh, and...
Sun
No.
and Jin, because they like...
Yeah, we did. We saw them in the airport.
Yeah, they're in the airport, but we don't know why they're in Australia. They're
Oh,
just
right,
there.
yeah. We know they were on the trip or whatever Sun's friend
Yeah.
says. But she was supposed to disappear in Australia. So we sort of
Kind of.
Yeah.
It's vague. But we've at least had the airport scene. But yeah. We still haven't had Hurley backstory! Ooh!
Yeah, who do we not know about? We don't know about Hurley. We don't know about... Is that it?
Rose.
Rose, yeah.
So, just before we get into the meat of the podcast, just want to say, content warning, obviously this is a very intense episode. We're going to be talking about things like suicide and murder, like... Basically, the entire plot of this episode of Lost is anyone who's ever killed grappling with what it means to have killed. So it's intense, you know? It's a lot, so yeah, I hope everyone is okay.
Yeah.
The characters aren't, clearly.
But, you know, they're talking things through.
Yeah. It really reminded me of any other Trekkies out there. So I'm a big Discovery fan. I know that this is also divisive. Some people don't like Discovery. I really like it. And I remember you sort of watching one episode or two with me.
It was literally about half an episode, because I only sat and watched it because we really like Doug Jones.
Yes.
And we love him from, like, What We Do in the Shadows, and...
I was like, you've got to see him in this, he's great.
And I, like, came in, I think, and you were like, oh no, but hang on, let me rewind it, because he just did this really cool scream. And then I just sat and, like, we just watched the rest of the episode.
I forgot about you saw the scream. The scream is great.
The scream is great.
Yeah, and you summarized Discovery as a concept by saying the first half of the episode is them all going to therapy and unpacking their trauma, and the second half of the episode is them acquiring more trauma.
Yep.
And I think that's so accurate. And this felt like that to me. It was
Very
like
much so.
the therapy episode.
Yeah, sorry, I've just been looking back in my notes to try and figure out if there's any other characters we haven't had backstory yet from. I don't think there is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very much. I think this episode and last episode have been a bit of a, like, we unpack some things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's like we've reached the point in the series where everything got really intense with, like, Ethan, and then it was like, okay, now we need to take some time to sort of talk to each other.
This is a breather episode,
and discuss our
it?
problems and maybe unpack some of our issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think, like, it very succinctly comes down to what Saeed says of, like, to Charlie when he says, like, you're not alone, stop acting like it. I think, like, that is so...
Well, you know, if they don't live together
they're gonna die alone. Exactly. And I think it's nice to kind of bring it back to that a little bit in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that kind of... Often the kind of A plot and B plot have very little to do with each other. But actually in this one...
Oh, they absolutely do.
They're very interlinked, like, thematically, which I think is really nice, rather than it just being, like, this one's the kind of happy relief plotline, or just being, like, the characters cross over. Like, thematically, they're very similar, and I think that's really nice.
And what's interesting about the structure of this episode as well is we've talked before, because they have so many characters, usually what ends up happening is you have A plot, B plot, C plot, D plot, and the flashbacks, and there's, like, lots going on.
Yeah.
Whereas in this episode, you've got A plot, B plot, the flashbacks, which there are more flashbacks than there have been in some.
Yeah.
So they're a bit more significant in the episode. But then what you instead get, instead of a C and D plot, is each of the other characters sort of come into one of the A or the B just for, like, one scene and then leave. Which I think is cool. I think it's a good way of doing it, you know?
Yeah, I think it's nice. I think it's nice to sort of new structure that comes maybe with it being a bit of a slower episode.
Yeah.
That there's, like, we can take a bit more time to sort of look at each individual plot line and just work all the characters into each thing. I think it's nice, yeah.
And it's almost, you can almost see the process of, like, the writers sitting down and going, okay, so what would John have to say about all this?
Yeah.
Let's give him a little parable. He can pop in and say that story and then leave again.
John's scene in this episode is absolutely brilliant.
Oh, I love it.
It's so great. The way it's like, he just comes out the woods eating an apple.
It's a mango, actually.
It's a mango.
Yes, I noticed that, because I thought it was an apple at first, but he's like chomping down on that mango flesh, you know, the skin's like ASMR. I
don't think that is ASMR.
No,
it's the opposite.
Probably an actively upsetting sound to hear. I apologise.
Yeah. And I actually, like, I think this... I'm gonna say it now.
Okay.
This is my favourite John convoluted metaphor story.
Ooh.
Of all the ones he does across the series, across the show.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I really like this one. Because previously, like, the Moth one I quite like.
Moth one sucks.
The one, what was the one a couple episodes ago that I was like, I think it sucks, but you liked it?
Oh, fucking hell, can't remember.
It was, give me a second.
As soon as we record these episodes, everything goes out of my head. It's like I've been Men in Blacked every time. I'm just like,
Literally every single
forget immediately. Oh yes, I remember it was the Michelangelo looking at the block of marble.
And
I
thought that one sucked and you liked that one.
We can both agree this one's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like this story. I think it's really lovely. I think it's nice also we get a little bit more of John's life. Like it's like a personal anecdote.
Yes.
I think that's what makes it different. That's what sets it apart for me, is it's not just him being like, and now it's time for me to be a wise old sage. It's like, this happened to me before, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's much nicer.
And it's like he talks about something that's like very, very personal, very sort of traumatic, but he does it in kind of like not a casual way. I'm not trying to say he makes it sound flippant. I'm trying to say it seems like he's saying, oh, I've processed this.
Yeah.
And this is just a story that I know will help you. And it's kind of like a really nice sort of bonding moment, because I feel like Kate, Sawyer and John are not a trio that come up, really.
No, not really.
And so it's quite nice that they have this little moment with the three of them.
Yeah, I think John and Sawyer haven't really spent any time together.
No. I can't think of another scene that they've had.
Sawyer doesn't really go on the group trips.
No.
And that's all John
Well, I guess
does.
he went on the one last episode to go and kill Ethan, didn't he?
Yeah,
Apparently.
so maybe that's why John's like, and it's metaphor time.
Maybe.
But yeah, I think I really like the story about Jeannie, and I think it's really lovely as well. The story itself is just really nice about the dog kind of coming out of nowhere and helping the mum, and I'm like, yeah.
And you know what I love as well? I love that it's underscored by him making coffee.
Yeah.
I think that's so brilliant, because not only have we never seen this like kettle before and these mugs, or ever thought about the fact that they'd be on a plane, how they would do that, and all of that, but it's also like, you know, it's stuff that he's scavenged.
Yeah.
It's like a sort of wholesome, it feels like a kind of breaking bread moment.
Yeah.
You know?
And I like that, like, he stops in the middle of the story and goes like, ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
He's drinking the coffee, and I'm like, yeah. It feels like it's very sort of casual in a really weird way, which is really nice. Yeah. And I like it also when Kate is just like, so you think your sister was reincarnated to a dog? And he's like, my mum believed that. Like, I think that it's like you don't have to be like, oh wow, that's so magical. It's just like, sometimes this is how we process things, is the point of the story.
Exactly.
It's not like the boar really is the spirit of that man you shot in Australia. It's like, this is how you feel about it, so unpack that.
And also, your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
In a completely genuine way. I know people sometimes say that as like your feelings are valid.
He's doing affirmations with Sawyer. He's like, now look at me, repeat after me. I am brave.
I am brave.
I am beautiful.
I am beautiful.
And I am valid.
And I am valid.
I have we've established my Sawyer impression previously, but I do have written down here the temper jar. And I've spelt it TAMPAHJAWWWB. How could you make up for the temper job?
It is fun. It's a fun accent to imitate.
It is a very fun accent.
Because it always makes me think of Benoit Blanc as well.
Yeah.
I have no idea if they're meant to be from the same region. There's probably, I mean, the south of America is huge, right?
Yeah. Sawyer's from Alabama.
No, Tennessee, he said today. Because I remember thinking about...
You're the only 10 I see.
I feel like he'd use that.
He would. I'm sure he's from Alabama, though.
Or maybe he was lying to the guy. Or maybe Tennessee and Alabama are... Is Tennessee in Alabama?
Alabama's a state. I think. I don't.
English twats try and figure out American geography.
I don't know. I don't know where Ben... I also don't know where Benoit Blanc is supposed to be from.
No. But he's English, isn't he, Daniel Craig?
Yeah, Daniel Craig is from London.
So I think he's having fun with the
I think they just... I don't... I was so confused when we first watched Knives Out, because for the first, like, 3 scenes, I genuinely had no idea what accent he was going for. Because I was like, he's got a French name, and I was like, is this some kind of really terrible French accent? And then I was like, no, wait.
Yeah.
What? And I don't, yeah. It's very strange. I mean, I thoroughly enjoy it. But yeah, there was a really great trend on Tumblr of everyone just typing, like,
Yeah.
Fenwar.
My God.
My God.
I love the Ratatouille one.
The temperature.
The temperature. That's a fun scene though, right?
Yeah, it's so intense.
Yeah.
A lot of this, like, the flashbacks in this episode are all so
God.
intense. They're all, like, very darkly sort of lit.
Yes,
And
I
it's
noticed
all
that
very,
too.
like, close in. And, like, you feel really oppressed. I think it's done, the televisography is really something across the flashbacks.
It surely is.
And, like, I loved the, like, it's one of those things where if you take it out of context, it's really funny. But in the context, it's, like, really intense of, like, when Sawyer is, like, ordering that from the food truck. And it's, like, if you take that out of context, it's, like, do you want hot sauce? Da-da! You know? But it's, like, yeah.
I'm so
it's
glad
so
you
intense.
brought that up, because we're going for it. It's the scenes that are so important to me.
That scene?
That scene.
Really?
Yeah,
That makes
yes.
it in? Not
Yes,
the
it
scene
does.
between Christian and Sawyer in the pub? Out of all the scenes, all the childhood flashback?
No. I mean, obviously those ones are really intense and awful, but the scenes that are so important to me are, like, moments where I had, like, an emotional reaction or a physical reaction, or they stick in my mind.
I had no memory of that scene.
Oh, that one really stuck in my mind. It really stood out as, like, something that I was just like, wow, just, like, took my breath away, because I just think Josh Holloway is acting that so incredibly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the kind of stillness and intensity. And as you say, they're having a really normal, mundane conversation. And it's like, at that point as well, the viewer thinks that this man is, like, the most horrible human being. And he's, like, done all these horrible things in his past, and he's completely ruined Sawyer's life. And he's just there, like, oh, a fellow American, isn't this lovely? And he's just really, like, happy and cheery, and has his back to the camera. And it's like, the contrast is incredible, because at that point you're going, he doesn't even remember. It doesn't even mean anything to him.
Yeah.
You know, he's so vulnerable. He's just putting his back to him. He could never think that he would have a gun or anything like that. And whereas Sawyer is going through the entire spectrum of emotions without even moving his eyebrows. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's, I
know what
think
you
that
mean.
scene is incredible, and I really love, I think it's a brilliant acting choice, whether it was the directors or whether it was Josh Holloway himself, to make Sawyer, to have that sinisterness for Sawyer.
No, I do love it. I think, like, I mean, I've not established this as a thing, but if you're going down the route of scenes that are so important to me, I do, if I kind of rank the scenes that make me cry, this episode, the first flashback in this episode is one. And it's something, I think I mentioned this before, historically, Sawyer really makes me cry. And I don't know why. I think a lot of his later episodes, so if you're listening and you've seen the rest of the show, you probably know the kind of bits I'm talking about.
I'm sure you can pinpoint the exact episode.
Yeah.
Made me cry too.
Sawyer makes you cry a lot. But then the montage at the end of 3 or 4, that gets me all teary every time.
What, when Sawyer throws in that apple?
Yeah, it's so emotional.
It's caught so
an apple.
perfectly.
And this this scene with that little boy.
Yeah, I mean,
This is the moment where you're like, shit, okay, this is like, I feel really bad for Sawyer.
I feel so bad for
Like,
him.
I spent all this time hating him so much, and then I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. And they did not have to make it hit so deep. Like, it already is an absolutely horrifying thing, and then he was in the room.
I know.
He was in the room, and the dad didn't even know.
I mean, that's horrible.
Fuck me, it's fucking, like, the writers just, they really, really hit home.
And I think, like, when they bring it back as well.
Yeah, the kind of, like, dream where the boar is there.
Yeah. I think that's really interesting. Because it's like, it's not really about the food truck guy. You know, it's like, it's about his dad.
Yeah.
you know?
Well, all the best cowboys do have daddy
issues. Yeah. I think that's a really cool kind of thing.
Yeah, and that kind of brings... It's interesting because I kind of really noticed it this time around, that kind of brings us back to what's happening on the island and kind of mystery of the island. So obviously we have Sawyer hears the whispers in this episode, which is a
How
huge
about
thing.
that? And that moment with Saeed, where Sawyer's like, what did you hear? And he's like, did you hear something?
And he's like, forget it, I didn't hear anything. They're both so unwilling to admit. Because what does it mean? It makes no sense.
Yeah, because also,
know?
like, if you admit that, you have to admit that Rousseau is right. Which means you have to tackle this whole idea that someone's going to get sick and you're going to have to kill them and, like, all of that stuff that she was talking about.
Yeah. It's just much easier to write it off as madness. But it's not.
But there's only so many times it can happen. And also this, like, it all comes back around. And, like, Sawyer's hearing that, and it's like, whether that's the whispers, or whether that is a suggestion of his subconscious, or something he, like, thinks he's hearing.
It all comes back around.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because in the boar dream, I distinctly heard, go back around.
Well, that's what the food truck guy says when he's dying, is it all comes back around.
Oh, okay.
And that's what he's hearing in the whispers.
Right.
And that's why I think he thinks the boar is, like...
Yes, that makes sense. Yeah, I wrote down, don't go back around. I was trying to hear what they were saying. I was like...
Yeah, I mean, it's all a bit vague, isn't it?
But yeah, so that's interesting. So, because it's a dream, you're going to think, oh, this is something to do... This is just Sawyer's subconscious, and it's generating this sound bite, as it were. But we know that Claire's dreams
were significant, yeah.
were very significant.
And Claire's been having more dreams. How about that?
Yeah. And she says they're not quite dreams, they're more like memories. So clearly something goes on with dreams.
Something about, like, the island and, like, the subconscious and, like, whether Jack's hallucination as well, that could be something to do with it. Or whether we think that was real, like, depending on what kind of route you go down, but, like, that could be part of it as well.
Mm-hmm. Is the boar a hallucination?
I mean, probably not.
Ghost
Kate sees
boar.
it too.
Ghost boar.
Ghost boar. Can we talk about how cute the boar is?
The little baby one.
Both of them.
The baby one that is so obviously a puppet.
The baby one is clearly, like, made of rubber, and he's just shaking it around, and they've, like, put some squeaking noises
It,
over
like,
the top.
doesn't even move. Like, his legs are just, like... They don't even attempt to animate it.
Yeah.
Bless.
I mean, they were doing their best. We all saw the polar bear puppet. But, like, yeah, even the little boy, because it's the way they don't have much range of motion with their legs. So when they run, it's a bit sort of, like, hopping up and down. And I just thought it was really cute, and it made it a bit more difficult to sort of side with Sawyer, because I was like, he's like, this thing's out to get me, and I'm like, but he's so cute.
He's just a little guy.
He's a little baby. But then it's like, does Sawyer think that that's why he's on the island?
Ah, like a kind of punishment or something.
Yeah, or just like it happened because... Yeah. Because, it, you know, it's all coming back around, and like the with the whispers, that's what the whispers are saying.
Yeah.
Then it's like the island knows what he did.
Yeah.
And no one knows.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. So, like, is he on the island in order to process what he did? Is he on the island because he's, like, guilty in some way? I mean, we know a lot of the people on the island are straight up criminals.
Yeah.
You know? But also some of the others have guilt for other reasons or in other ways, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Claire feels guilty about the fact that she was going to give up her baby, for example.
Yeah.
So perhaps there's something to do with that.
Yeah. I mean, they all kind of feel guilt about something, and, like, you know, something Christian says in this episode is, like, Jack, he says, like, you know, my son thinks I hate him. He thinks that he's ruined my life. And clearly that's something Jack feels really guilty about because of, like, the way his mum talks to him about it, and the way he, like, you know, is that manifesting into seeing his dad? Is that why?
Yeah, because also Jack wasn't able to save his dad's life. Do you know what I mean? Like, he ran off to Australia and sort of died and Jack wasn't able to help him.
And that's something as well, like when Sawyer, at the end of this episode, when Jack says the thing about the Red Sox, and Sawyer kind of figures it out. First of all, so crazy, because it's like, you're never gonna know. And then it's like, yeah, because that guy, like, Sawyer never learnt his name.
No.
So even if Jack had said, you know, my father, Dr. Christian Shepherd, he wouldn't know.
No. And it's wild, because you go, first of all, that scene is great between Christian and Sawyer. And then you're like, oh, they're never going to know. They're never going to find out. Like, you know, when Boone saw Sawyer, like, being arrested, did he even register that? When they were in the crash together, does he go, wait, hang on a minute, you were the guy? Because he probably doesn't even remember what his face looked like or anything like that. So it's like, they're all connected, but they don't
realise,
But they do know it. Sawyer figures it out at the end.
And I thought that was such a cool, like parallel as well of, like, because I have written down, like, when Christian's going off on one when he's all drunk, and he's like, he says, like, some people are just meant to suffer. And what I have written down is, Christian, it is your own damn fault you're suffering. And I was like, that's complete bullshit. And then it's the way Jack says the thing about the Red Sox, and he goes like, oh yeah, it's just something he'd say to, like, pretend it was all fate and he couldn't do anything about it. And I think that's really interesting when you look at that next to what we've been looking at of, like, it's fate that they're on the island because they all feel guilty about something, and it's like, maybe it's not fate, maybe they all just have to actually acknowledge that they've done bad things.
Yeah.
And not wait for something to happen to them.
But then it's like, fate is definitely some kind of a force on the island, unless you think everything is just a coincidence or an accident. You know, we know that these people are in some way connected to each other in their lives before the island, and also, like, when Boone drops the torch and they find the hatch.
Yeah.
Like, is that fate or is that just an accident?
Well, that's what you have to think. Is it like, but also is it one of those things of, like, they would find it eventually, but it's coincidence when it happened, you know? That's another part of it.
Yes, but then it's like, that doesn't really apply to the crash itself, does it?
No, not really.
They would find each other eventually.
They would find each other in every lifetime. Maybe they all just chatted in another life they all chatted in the airport, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, I think, but what I was gonna say, anyway, is in that scene between Sawyer and Jack, where they talk about, his dad, that's when Sawyer learns that Christian is dead.
Oh yeah! Oh my god, yeah!
Did Sawyer see him the day he died?
Ooh. Well, I mean, he dies from sort of complications with his alcoholism, right?
Yeah, because I was thinking, when Jack goes to the hotel in Australia, they're like, oh, he left his, like, wallet and his passport and everything here. And when Sawyer's in the bar, Christian says, oh, I don't have my wallet. And Sawyer's like, oh, I'll pay for it.
Oh my god! I never even put two and two together.
And so it's like, he's sitting in that bar feeling so guilty about Jack, but he can't pick up the phone and tell him he's sorry. And then he dies that day.
This episode now got me feeling bad about Christian. Oh my god. That's revelations in the fucking studio today.
Like, how crazy is that?
Oh my god.
And, like, Sawyer must know that, because we know that happened only a few days before the plane.
Yes.
And so, like, Sawyer must be thinking, like, he died at least very soon after that, if not that day.
Yeah.
And that must be an insane thing for him to know.
Yeah.
Like, and, like, I don't, like, Jack doesn't mention it, but, like, is Sawyer then gonna be like, his body was on the plane with them?
Yeah, maybe he'll figure it out, I don't know. The body was on the plane. Because I guess you might think, oh, they'd bring it back to America to have a funeral in America.
Yeah.
Man.
How wild is that?
Yeah.
All comes back around.
That is crazy. Can I just say, though, I do think it is extremely cheeky of Christian to be like, not to be like, oh, I don't have my wallet, oh, I'll pay for his drink, whatever. But then to say to the bartender, leave the bottle. Do you know how much that bottle would cost?
I know, I was a bit like, okay.
That's gonna be like 80 quid or something, you know?
Sawyer's being nice to you.
Just, you're paying for that.
Big
Fucking...
It is. I was a bit like, okay, Christian.
Mad. Oh, and can we talk about, you said you wrote Tampajar phonetically.
Yeah.
I wrote phonetically, oh, you sure about that, mate?
You sure about that, mike? I love the very Aussie bartender.
So intense.
I think he's probably not Australian.
Yeah, that's probably why. Well, they said that they film a lot of the flashback stuff in Hawaii.
Yeah.
So maybe it was just like a Hawaiian actor.
They just do like set dressing to make it look. And that's actually really interesting to watch on the behind the scenes where they like take all of the like, they like repaint a door frame and suddenly you go, oh my god, it does look English. And it's really weird.
Yeah, no, it's really clever.
So yeah, that was probably just some Hawaiian actor who's just gone, yeah, I can do an Australian accent.
Australian.
You sure about that,
Oh,
mate?
you sure about that, mate? Really made me giggle.
Let's talk about Charlie.
Okay.
Because I think his kind of trajectory of this episode is really interesting. When it's like, we've just come off the back of an episode that's all about him and his like guilt and his insistence. We talked a lot last week about like his weird insistence on looking after people. Mm-hmm. But what we get from him this week is like, he's completely drawn back from that.
That's true, yeah.
Like, Claire says, do you want to go for a walk with me? And he's not like, I will keep you safe. He's like, no. And I think that's really interesting, that maybe he's kind of gone back off a bit to himself. But also, like, he's taking the time, like we said it would have been better if he'd done this last episode, to kind of just process the thing that he did.
Yeah.
And the things that he's gone through.
It's like the writers listen to us.
It's almost like they can hear us.
JJ, we know you're out there. You're listening.
20 years ago, you can hear me.
Yeah.
I don't have any kind of qualms with Charlie's plotline this episode. I think also I noticed in the scene in the caves, his like neck is still all bruised.
Oh, wow. So it like, you know, it's super recent.
Yeah, I mean, we said it had been, 2 weeks? But like it's still, and I think it's something that's really cool to look at, especially over the beginning of the series, is like the way injuries heal over the course of the show, because you have like cuts and stuff from the first episode that gradually fade away, and sometimes there's scars and sometimes there isn't. And obviously you got John's very cool like line one. But yeah, I've not really noticed the bruising as it's faded, but obviously it's been there. But then this episode I noticed there's like it's like just a kind of dark. It's not all purple anymore. It's like going away, but it's still there. And that's, I thought, was really powerful visually, in that it's like he's burying Ethan's body and he's still got marks on him from what Ethan did to him, you know?
Yeah, that is really powerful. And I'd completely forgotten about, like, the grave digging scene as well. I mean, that's very intense, because it's like he has to sort of process the physical reality of what he's done. And it's like, Ethan deserved to die. And I think as viewers, we kind of all agree. But also as viewers, we are sort of wondering whether Ethan is human. You know, and like who he is, because he has this kind of what seems to be superhuman strength and ability to breathe underwater and shit like that. And it's like, what we are faced with here is a dead human body.
Yeah, and like Hurley again, once again, does a fantastic job of saying what the viewer's thinking, which he does a lot during the show, just being like, what if he comes back to life?
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm not going to leave you alone. What if he comes back to life and kills you? And it's like, yeah, actually, what if he does come back to life and kill Charlie?
So true. Hurley's the only one that he is, like, aware that he's in, like, a thriller.
He knows, Hurley is painfully genre aware and everyone else is not. And you know what is particularly not genre aware in this episode? Never Have I Ever.
Oh my god. I think you mean I Never.
Yeah, what I have written down here, Never Have I Ever. First of all, wrong name. Secondly, is this a teen sitcom?
Yeah. Ridiculous.
Absolutely insane.
We're talking about scenes that are so important to me. This is like the polar opposite. It's one of my most hated scenes.
Scenes I wish had died on the editing room floor.
Why? It just, so much about it. The fact that it begins with him saying, all right, sassafras, give me fucking strength.
I forgot about all right,
sassafras. I have no words. It's ridiculous.
It's like, first of all, Sawyer has garnered my sympathies across this episode. And then I am reminded, painfully, of everything he represents. In that not only is the whole scene so incredibly weird and cringe, but also he's kept all the alcohol to drink, and Jack was looking for it to use to, like, sanitize wounds and stuff.
Oh, is that why he was looking for it?
Yeah, because he uses it to... He gets Kate to pour all the vodka all over his cut.
Yeah, that's true.
When he sews him up. And it's like... He was obviously looking for it to use as a medical supply, and Sawyer's gone, nope, I'm going to keep it and drink it. The two things I have written down about this scene are, I can't take the intensity seriously with all the tiny bottles.
That's so true. It does look a bit silly, doesn't it?
It's like the really intense close-ups, like, I never killed a man. Tiny, teeny, and I'm like, it's just not going away. They should have poured them into little cups or something, because it's not...
It's really, it's the equivalent of if it was that super close-up on either of their faces, and then just one of those tiny hands came up, those tiny hands.
Maybe they should have held the vodka in a tiny hand so it looked to
looks
scale.
Normal. Yeah. See, they should have had us in the writer's room. They never thought of these things.
We could have been suggesting changes. The other thing I have written down is Tory Sawyer.
Yeah, I wrote down Sawyer Tory confirmed.
I mean, as if we didn't know that already,
alongside
but
Shannon.
Sawyer does, in fact, vote Republican.
Mm-hmm. And, well, I mean, one of the advantages of this game, of this scene, one of the few, is that we do get a bit more lore from the pair of them. So
we do, yeah.
Kate says that she's never voted. Does that say to you that she's been, like, on the run as, like, a criminal ever since she's been of legal voting age?
Yeah, actually, I hadn't thought about that. I guess, yeah, because she wouldn't vote because that would require her to bring, like, ID and stuff.
You can't vote if you're a criminal, anyway.
Yeah.
But I guess she's not been convicted.
She's not been convicted, but also if she had to, like, show her ID and be recorded at a polling station, then the marshal knows where she is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess she never voted because whatever crime she committed to be chased happened before she was of voting age.
I mean, it's very difficult to tell how old the character's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, we've debated this endlessly off air.
And on air, briefly, I think, because Shannon has that line. Well, we know Shannon's 20, she says that.
Yes.
And I can believe that. She looks 20.
Yeah,
right?
I believe that she's 20. She does say, what, are you 2 years older than me?
Yeah.
But it's like, there's no way Kate's 22.
She doesn't look 22. She looks older. And she's more mature as well, And I know she's had to fend for herself because she's been on the run. And so that would give you a maturity.
But also Boone's 22.
Yeah.
Or 23, because he's 2 years older than Shannon, so it's like, they're not the same age.
No.
They're just not. What did we learn? Sawyer's never kissed a man. Don't believe you.
Yeah. Kate never goes, I've never kissed a woman.
Kate's bisexual. Confirmed in this
scene. So what we learn is Kate's bisexual.
Sawyer is a Tory.
Sawyer's a Tory.
Kate's been married. Sawyer's never been married.
No, but she has been married, but she says it didn't last very long. So that's interesting.
So she's not married currently, you would assume.
If she's been on the run since she's been of legal voting age, I'm not sure how it is in America, but it's the same age in England where you can get married and you can vote.
Yeah.
So she got married whilst she was on the run?
So she can't register to vote, but she can get married. So, question mark.
Interesting.
What else did we learn? Oh, also, fun fact for you. On the Does the Dog Die page for Lost, which I would highly recommend giving a read. If you have seen the show, or you don't mind getting spoilers, there are some absolute gems on the Does the Dog Die page. And also, obviously, some very helpful stuff. There's like a thing of like, one person has genuinely, I don't remember the trigger, I think it's spiders, and they've timestamped every episode where there's a spider. And I'm like, wow.
That's so... God, some people on the internet are so lovely, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's really, really
It's really
sweet.
nice. And, like, there's loads of really nice things. There's also some hilarious moments that just really make me giggle. But one of the things listed on Does the Dog Die is, are there, like... I think it's phrases like, are there, like, man in a dress jokes? Something like that. It's something along the lines of, like, making fun of men for being feminine / emotionally vulnerable. There is also a separate question of, like, is a man made fun of for crying? And then there's this one. And next to that, it says, no, but there is a moment where Sawyer says he wore pink and Kate laughs at him.
That's on there.
And I was like, of all the things that happen in Lost,
Yeah.
that has made it onto the trigger warning page.
Wow.
And I just think that's really quite something.
Yeah.
Considering all the shit that happens in this show.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I feel like there's probably
Worse
ways in
masculine
which,
moments. Yeah.
people
Because there's a lot of weird toxic masculinity that goes on in
Yeah.
this show.
yeah, and a lot of it comes from Sawyer.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's,
very strange.
That's interesting. Yeah, and he goes, oh, the 80s.
The 80s.
So how old would he have been in the 80s?
I don't know. He's like the same age as our parents, right? So teenager. He's 50 something now, I think.
Okay.
Let's ask the internet.
I forget that the 80s wasn't that long ago
Yeah.
for them.
I
Oh,
know.
that's what it is. I'm like, the 80s?
80s was like 50 years ago, man!
But no,
So-
this is all happening 20 years ago.
yeah, he was born same year as our dad, 1969.
Okay.
So he would have been...
Well, 70-90 would have been 10. 80-90 would have been 20.
So a teenager.
Do you think he was like a sort of Miami Vice teen? Like those big suits?
I was
pushing
gonna
the
say,
sleeves
was he
up?
like a sort of raver?
Ooh.
I was picturing...
Rave is more 90s.
I was
though.
picturing sort of neon mesh, but
Mm.
but yeah, I could see him as a sort of Miami Vice.
I'm picturing him. This is what I'm picturing.
Sort of
You
George
know
Michael.
the hair gel that he has in the first episode. Hair gel's back, pale grey suit with big shoulders and like a bright pink shirt underneath, and he's on one of those big old phones. Huge.
So you've turned him into like a weird sort of stock market
Yes.
character.
Yes. This is what I think he was in his youth.
Okay. You know what? I can accept that. What else did we learn during the game of Never Have I Ever?
The writers don't know how to flirt once again.
The writers don't know how to talk to women.
Well, we knew that Kate had killed a man.
Yes, we do know that.
We knew that
Because
already.
Well, did she kill?
Yeah, because she goes, it belonged to the man I loved, it belonged to the man I killed.
Yeah, I know I meant, did she kill the guys in the bank?
Oh.
Have we watched her kill a man? I don't know.
She shoots to kill. Sorry, we
does
said
shoot to
that
kill.
on that episode and it's been making me laugh ever since as a phrase. She shoots to kill.
She shot 2 of them.
Mhm.
We don't know if they died or not, but we know Kate's killed people.
Yep.
And what we find out then is that Sawyer's killed a man, and then we watch it obviously happen
Yes.
at the end of the episode.
So all of that, I mean, like, as we've said, the sort of through line of this episode is like, what makes someone a killer? And it is quite focused on what makes a man a killer, but we do get Kate also coming in with her.
Yeah.
I've also killed and it is traumatic for me as well. But yeah, so you've got like Sawyer and Charlie who both...
And Saeed.
Yeah, but Saeed's different, if you let me finish.
Okay, well, you pause.
Sawyer and Charlie, who were both, I would say, not killers in their personality. Like, you know when the Australian guy is saying, like, when
When you find out who you really
you
are.
find out who you really are.
Yeah.
I would say, like, that for both of them, like, they wouldn't have, and the viewer wouldn't have considered them killers, but they both have killed. Obviously, not in this episode, but we find
Yeah.
out in this
Mhm.
episode.
Yeah.
And so it's about them processing that, whereas Saeed, I think, he's more like
He's
of
like
a
the
killer.
experienced killer, isn't
Yeah.
he?
And he like volunteers for this, even though he says it affects him very deeply. And I think that's important because I put Kate in that category as well. I'd say she is a
She
killer.
shoots to kill, but she's
if
sad
there is
about
such
it,
a
you
thing
know?
as a killer, I'd say Saeed and Kate
Mhm.
are in that bracket. I don't know why I'm doing this. The bracket.
I like that as a gesture. Yeah. Interesting. Something I also noticed about Kate and her sort of killing in this episode. Kate and her killing.
Kate and her killing.
Kate and her killing.
Just girly things.
Is that kind of conversation she has with Jack about the guns. He seems very calm and chill about the fact that he's not going to tell anyone about, like, the marshal. Like, the last time we saw them talk about the guns, and the case and the marshal. It was very intense and very weird, and I was like, where did this come from, Jack? Why are you suddenly so desperate to find out what she did?
Oh, yeah.
And then this time around, he's like, yeah, Marshall was travelling alone, keeping us safe from terrorists. It's fine. And I thought that was really, like, clearly he's kind of calmed down a bit.
Yes.
He's like, it's okay, I'm not going to tell anyone.
Yeah. I guess that comes from it's been longer now, hasn't it? Because we've had a bit of a time jump from that. Even though that was only like 4 or 5 episodes ago, we know that it's been 2 weeks that Claire's been missing. And so it's like they've gotten to know each other a bit better, and I think they've settled down into a bit of a rhythm as a group. And I think Jack kind of goes, it's not my place to reveal that, and if I did, it would disrupt everything.
Yeah. And I thought that was quite nice.
We're
not so different.
We're not so different, you and I. Maybe it's like we're the Killers, you know, not the band, but
coming out of my cage and I'm doing just fine.
And so she thinks like, oh, we're kind of the same, but Jack kind of goes, no, he's more like, I don't know what the word is, manipulative than you. He will use stuff against
you to get what he wants, yeah.
Whereas I think Kate, at the very least on the island, she has a bit more of a moral compass, or she's a bit more altruistic, like she cares about the group a lot more than Sawyer does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And so Jack sort of sees that, whereas I don't think Kate does, probably because she fancies him a bit.
Yeah. And like Saeed kind of says the same. He like doesn't want Kate going near Sawyer, really, does he? I think they're all kind of like, don't go near him. Don't go away from him. He's a Tory.
Yeah. It's because, well, we know Saeed's a girl's girl. So he's like,
Saeed is a girl's girl, it's true.
You trust me. Okay. Oh, we get the reveal that Sawyer is called James. Actually, we may know that already, but a J name. Sawyer's like, Saeed's
J
like,
name.
He's got a J name. Girl, steer clear. Trust me, do not go there. Okay, we've all been there. Do not go there.
I love, we got some great sort of a bit of Saeed sass this episode.
Oh my gosh, that was brilliant.
Boar took your top. Are you enjoying this? Yes.
I wrote down Saeed is in his sassy era. And I also wrote down, Boar took your top, brackets, like, in the tone of penny for your thoughts. Did you think that? The way he said it, it was like, Boar took your top.
I guess.
As if he was going penny for your thoughts.
I guess so.
Just made me giggle the way he delivered it.
But yeah,
are you enjoying this?
Yes.
It's just iconic.
And then also we get the same thing from Sawyer later in the episode when he threatens
Are you trying to be
Jack
funny?
with the gun.
Yeah.
That's quite fun.
No, absolutely it is. And I kind of like that because, you know, Sawyer and Saeed and Sawyer and Jack have had very real, very serious tension early on. And now they've kind of, as I say, the group has kind of settled, and they kind of, I wouldn't say they would consider them friends, but they're kind of like, we are in this together, you know?
Yeah. I think after what happened with Ethan, it's all brought them together a bit more.
There's more solidarity.
Because there's more of a, like, okay, we don't like each other, but there is an external threat here.
Yes.
It's a bit more of a, like, we have to be with each other. We can't be, like, against each other internally, because what we have is a guy who kidnapped a pregnant woman. And so they've all kind of put aside their differences a little bit, and I think that's really quite nice to see.
Yeah, and in the kind of episode that's slower and is about unpacking your trauma, they're able to sort of joke around a little bit, you know, and sort of...
Like, Saeed is joking with Sawyer a little bit, Sawyer is joking with Jack a little bit, Claire goes and talks to Charlie, even after what's happened to them, then Charlie goes back to Claire, and like Hurley going to Saeed for help with Charlie is so lovely.
So lovely.
Because it's like, not only is it that Hurley cares about Charlie, it's like Hurley has gone to Saeed and said like, he needs help and I feel like you are the person to help him. Like, that must be really nice for Saeed as well.
Yeah. I mean, and we're talking about like, you know, emotional vulnerability of male characters to be like, he's not going to reach out for help, but I'm worried about him.
Yeah.
And yeah, for Saeed to go, I hope that I can help him based on what I've been
And like
through.
To get that from Saeed as well, in the vulnerability of being like, he's like the big intense soldier, you know, he's the one who's tortured people, he's the one who's and he's like, no, it sucks, you know, it's awful, and it's really upsetting, and you just have to like let yourself be upset about it.
Yeah, his sort of message to Charlie is like, process it.
Yeah.
You know, don't just put it away. Because Charlie, in the scene when he's with Saeed, is very dismissive. He's just like, he deserved to die, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's more than that.
That's true, but you still killed someone. Yeah. Hurley and Saeed have a very sweet friendship. They've got the kind of, like, because that first, like, Saeed is the first, not Saeed, Hurley is the first person that Saeed told about being, like, a torturer. And, like, they have that kind of moment where,
I
like...
love that scene really early on.
Yeah.
It's in, like, Tabula Rasa or something, isn't it?
Yeah, when it's, like, Sawyer and Saeed have been fighting because Sawyer thinks Saeed's a terrorist, and then Hurley kind of... It's like a, you know, people of colour solidarity moment where Hurley comes over and is like, don't listen to his racist ass.
Yeah.
And he's like, by the way, I was a torturer in the war. And Hurley's like, okay. Cool. And so I think they have that little, like, it's something you don't really notice over the grand scheme of the show, but when you kind of watch it and dig down into the details more, there's so many, like, tiny moments of friendship that really become significant later on. Like, those early episodes, there's the little conversations between characters that end up being really important. Like, that little, like, between Kate and Son a couple episodes ago, where Kate realised Son speaks English, that becomes so... integral to their relationship, and I think it's really nice that it's those little moments, because it's like they don't know each other that well, they haven't known each other very long, but it's like you don't have time to get to know each other.
Yeah.
You know, you have one friendly conversation with someone, then it's like, this is my bro for life. Because you have to just, like, make your alliances, and then as the show goes on and things get more intense and things happen for longer and longer, you can see, like, where those very tiny conversations like sparked the big, really important deep friendships, and I think that's really cool to come back and watch again.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And I'm wondering, do you think that's why Claire has kind of latched onto Charlie? Because I was saying last week that, you know, me personally, I would never be able to trust him because he just shot a man in front of me.
Yeah.
But she, from her perspective, she's like starting again, isn't she?
Yeah.
And she knows that she's got this diary, she has some memories, she knows that Charlie is, you know, there for her, and he's seen him do something very intense and dramatic in order to protect her. So do you think that's why she's like, I want to stay friends with you?
I think so, yeah. And I think it's like, you know, like, she remembers the tiny interaction, she remembers the peanut butter thing.
Yeah.
And, like, she's obviously been getting these kind of fragments of memory. I think it's a bit of, like Claire kind of saying, do you want to go for a walk and have a conversation? She's also like, you did kill someone for me yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's go for a walk.
Maybe she can also see that he
is not doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is trying to, obviously she's been through something very traumatic very recently as well. And
Trauma
it's like, let's process our PTSD together.
Let's take ibuprofen together. Yeah.
Sawyer's got it all.
So he's called the ibuprofen.
He's stockpiling it along with the alcohol.
Yeah, probably. I mean,
wouldn't surprise me.
No.
Yeah, so speaking of Charlie, what the hell is he making in that first scene? With Claire.
Yeah,
when Claire goes and talks to him, he's like rapping something to... I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, I don't know. I assumed it was something to do with Ethan's sort of burial.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's doing it, and then he says to Claire, like, no, I have to do something. And at first I thought that was him being like, oh, no, I've got stuff on, to try and be like, I don't want to hang out with you. But then he's burying Ethan, and I was like, oh, that's what he's like, I can't move on, I have to bury the guy.
I didn't even put two and two together. Clearly you're far more on it today than I was. I think I was distracted because I spilt the milk
thing. You were like,
it threw me off. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't figure out the wallet thing.
Pick up on the details.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it's like either like a spade or something, or like, I know they made little like crosses. I think they made a little cross for Scott anyway, when they buried him, and the marshal I think has one.
Oh, probably.
So maybe it was something to do with that. Maybe he was making him like a gravestone or something.
Let's not forget that Jack has killed as well.
Yeah.
The marshal. And Sawyer has that whole thing about, we know Jack's not gonna do it.
Yeah. And we said, when that happened, we said once you know the context of Sawyer's backstory, him shooting the marshal is so significant for him. Now we know why.
Yeah.
Because he killed a man for the first time, 2 days?
Who knows?
Before the
how
plane
long.
crash?
Yeah.
So maybe 4 days before shooting the marshal, which is so wild to think of it in that kind of time scale.
Yeah.
It's like when when Charlie says he hasn't played his guitar for like 3 days, and you're like, oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't even think about that, because I was like, with everything with the boar, it really feels like Sawyer's been holding on to this for maybe even as long as he's had that letter.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously not because he was a child, but do you know what I'm saying? Like, it feels
like a really deep, long thing
that he's had to process. But actually, maybe this is the first time he's ever sat down and properly processed what's happened, because he might have been, arrested or like posted bail and then gotten on a plane and then been in a plane crash and had to deal with all of this.
Because it's like, you're in a plane crash, you don't have time to think about what you did 3 days ago, even if that was just kill a man.
Yeah.
You're in a plane crash.
Wow. So it really puts things into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I think it is a really interesting thing that, like, we talk about the kind of male vulnerability, but like a lot of it, you're gonna have to hear me out here because I think it's gonna sound really weird when I phrase it. Like, a lot of the kind of emotional outbursts from Sawyer are quite embarrassing in this episode.
In this episode?
In the main plotline, not in the past.
Yeah, I am gonna have to hear
let me
you
get
out.
to it. So, like, when they're like, you're chasing down a boar, and he's like, he peed on my shirt, he's got it out for me, he took my tent, he's gone through my shit, and he's like, it's all like, when you look at it from the outside, like John and Saeed and Kate are all a bit like, the boar hasn't got a personal vendetta against you, like, calm down. And I think, I'm getting to it, I think the reason why it's kind of framed a little bit in that way is because Sawyer finds it embarrassing to express his emotions.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So I think he finds that vulnerability really kind of horrible and like embarrassing and weird, and he doesn't like it. And so that's why it kind of comes out in this way that's done in a little bit. You're like, oh, come on, get a hold of yourself. The boar doesn't have a vendetta against you. But then you're like, but this is like, he's like, feels so like weird about it.
Yeah.
That's why I think it comes out in that way.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I like that as a sort of observation about. Do you think this is from a writing perspective or within the narrative?
I think it's more of a writing thing.
Yeah.
I don't think like
I guess it depends whether you think the island has sent him this boar.
Yeah, well that's the thing. This is when it depends on whether the boar really houses the spirit of the guy he shot, or really the whispers are coming for him, or if the boar really does have it out for him, or if that's just like patterns he's noticing. Because I think if it is that it's really like a message, I think maybe it's like the island kind of forcing him to confront his sort of embarrassment about being vulnerable.
Yeah.
But if it's not, if it's that he's pattern focused, like picking up on patterns and stuff, I think it's like a writing thing.
Yeah.
That like they've gone make it embarrassing so that he has to feel that.
Yeah. No, agreed. That's a very astute observation, Velvet.
Thank you. I am really on my game today.
You are. What do you think about the fact that he doesn't shoot the boar in the end?
I think it's it's like almost like a reversal of the previous episode.
Okay, interesting.
Because it's like Charlie, who you would never expect to be violent and angry in that way, is the one who takes the gun and shoots Ethan. And in the opposite, like Sawyer is kind of someone who you expect to be like, he's always fighting and he's always angry, and you think he'll kill him and then that'll make him feel better, but actually he leaves it. I think it's like a kind of reversal. And yeah, I don't know. I think it kind of shows that Sawyer's had some emotional growth over the episode. And also, like, if he truly does believe that it's like things coming back around, it's like this time he shows mercy.
Yeah. Well, mercy is...
I mean, maybe
wouldn't say
mercy's the incorrect
mercy.
phrasing, but like this time he doesn't, like he thinks about it.
Yeah, I guess, okay, so like when he's in the bar with Christian asks him, this thing that you have to do, this business, will it ease your suffering? And he says yes. And then he goes, well, then you should go do it. what has resulted in, because it was the wrong guy,
it has in
Well,
fact intensified his suffering.
yes, whether it was because it was the wrong guy or whether it's because actually killing someone is so creates this huge profound change within you, probably a bit of both. Regardless, it has increased his suffering.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when he's staring down the boar, he's kind of processing that and is kind of thinking, so I have this idea that the boar has a vendetta against me. If I kill the boar, is that going to change anything? Is that going to help?
Yeah. Is it going to ease his suffering?
Yeah.
And I guess the conclusion he comes to is no.
Mm-hmm. Because he goes, it's just a boar, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know whether he believes that or not, but
maybe it's something he's trying to believe.
Yeah.
You know? He's being like, it's nothing, it's just a bore. Another non-dramatic,
so the last scene
non-cliffhanger.
is the one between Jack and Sawyer, right?
I think so, yeah. And we get like that little...
Well, the last thing I wrote down was, you trying to be funny? Yeah. Fresh out of pies to throw at you.
The pies thing was genuinely so funny. Yeah, the last note I have, I mean, we get the little montage of, like, Charlie sitting and Claire sitting and watching everyone.
Yeah, I really liked that bit because it was kind of like showing people enjoying themselves or being happy or like... it was like the sort of characters who haven't been featured in the episode at all, kind of saying, look, they're getting on okay, you know, they're making the best of a bad situation, and from Claire's perspective, she's trying to understand how everyone is living post-crash.
Yeah. And, like, we see the boat as well. The boat's starting to take shape.
Isn't it just?
The raft is looking good.
Mm-hmm.
Michael and one of the extras building the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really nice moment with Charlie and Claire. I was trying to make out what Charlie was saying when he walked away, but I couldn't really hear it.
Yeah.
Because it was like over the music, but I was like, I don't know what he's saying. And then, I think you get after that, the Jack and Sawyer scene. I think it's like, it's another sort of non-dramatic, non-cliffhangery ending. And I think that's kind of, a indication of the whole, like, we've had a bit of a breather.
Yeah.
We've unpacked some things we've gone through.
Yeah.
And now, back to the intense stuff. Question mark. I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, I'm pretty sure next episode is in translation, isn't it?
Ooh, I think it is actually.
Absolutely excellent episode.
And it is also
quite intense.
Quite intense, yeah. It really brings it back.
Mm-hmm. And this episode has been intense.
It has been.
Emotionally.
Emotionally, of course.
But we're back to, like, big sort of plot intensity.
Yeah.
I'd say, next week, if I remember it correctly. And as we've established, Velvet and I have absolutely shit memories, so...
I'm a bad memory, but I can analyse what's right in front of me. And it's completely gone from my head. It is quite a plot. It's much more of a plot-heavy episode
than this
on island than... these ones have been... This episode's been very, like, heavily flashback focused.
Absolutely.
And this is more of a balance, I would say.
We talked a little bit about the other things I was going to mention was, like, the musical score in all of the flashbacks. It's really cool.
Yeah, the kind of dramatic build-up. I think the music does a really good job of setting the emotions for this episode. Especially in scenes like the food truck, where it, like, otherwise wouldn't be particularly intense.
Disagree.
I mean, like, objectively, the situation is not intense or scary, is it?
Yeah.
It's just a man ordering from a food truck.
But that's what makes it great.
Yeah, I'm saying that's what makes it great, and the music does a really good job of helping that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The music, the colour grading? No, that sounds wrong. The colour framing. It's very blue and rainy.
It is very blue.
That's essentially where my vocabulary ends, at the word blue.
Stopped in nursery. Just didn't keep going.
Yep.
Blue.
And then the only other thing I was going to say is Boone and Charlie with their dainty feet.
Yes! I thought that was so fun! Kate being like, based on the weight of the footprints, you're following Boone. Or maybe Charlie.
Yeah.
Twinks unite.
Yeah, absolutely. What size do you think? Size 7?
6.
Short king.
I think Charlie is a size 6. I think Boone tells people he's a size 8.
Oh, yeah.
But he's a size 6. He's a size 8 in Australian sizes, which are 2 higher than English sizes.
Is that true?
I think it might be the other way around, actually. I don't know. They're 2 off. I remember that because I have a pair of Australian shoes that are like, I think they're
Where
a
the
size...
hell do you have Australian shoes?
You know my Alice in Wonderland shoes? They're an Australian company.
No. What Alice in Wonderland shoes?
The company's called Hot Chocolate, I think. They're like Mary Jane's with like, one of them has watches all over and one of them has rabbits all over it.
You're throwing words at me now. Mary Jane's?
Like, you know the like school shoes? They're like, they go like round the foot and then they've got like a bit open.
Okay.
And then there's a buckle.
Those shoes, yes. Those are called Mary Jane's?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're called Mary Jane's and
Did you learn that from Animal Crossing?
I think I knew that already, but I do have a pair of Mary Jane's in Animal Crossing. Yeah. And I think the company's called Hot Chocolate. They're an Australian company and I think I have a size 6, but actually they're a size 4 in British sizes. But the woman in the shop was like, oh yeah, Australia, it's 2 numbers up.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Huh. You learn something new every day.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've taught you something completely random.
One thing away from this podcast, it's that Australian shoe sizes are 2 higher than British.
2 higher than British.
Is British the same as American?
I don't know. I think so.
I think so too, because it's Europe.
Europe has like 34, 36.
Yeah. All of that. I don't know why England said, actually no. Oh, and we didn't talk about carte blanche. It means black check. I know what it means.
I enjoyed that.
That was great.
I want carte blanche. Yeah, so that was... Kate was like, I want you to... Was that like a one-time, you give me anything I want, just to get the gun back? Or is it now that whenever she goes to Sawyer and is like, do you have ibuprofen? He's gonna...
Honestly...
I didn't really understand the terms of the agreement.
I did not either. I was hoping you were paying attention because I think this was post-milk spillage and I was very lost.
I was just, I thought the carte blanche thing was funny. I wasn't really paying attention to the terms.
Well, because I was thinking about Yonderland.
Yeah. There's a bit in... Oh god, okay.
Have we talked about Yonderland before?
I don't think so. Okay.
It inevitably comes up when we get yapping. Because, like Lost, Yonderland is one of those shows that we've watched so much that it's just become a part of our personalities.
Yeah, so if any of you have seen Horrible Histories or Ghosts, the UK version, it's the same cast, and they wrote a TV show called Yonderland, which is like a fantasy with like puppets, and it's in like a jungle. It's sort of semi-similar to Lost in that sense. In that it's in like a sort of fantasy jungle.
In no other sense is it
in no other sense, Lost. No. It's very sort of fantasy and weird, and it's really funny.
It's so funny. It's like a kids show.
It's like sort of a kids show, but it is like it's
silly.
Like universal appeal. It's absolutely hilarious. I'd really recommend it. And there's
if you can find it anywhere, watch it.
It's
on so good.
Sky, I believe. We've got the DVDs, but I think it was on Sky. And yeah, it's so funny. And then, there's a bit where the villain, who is comically stupid, says the
villain's boss.
Villain's boss says to him, I'm giving you carte blanche. To which he replies,
the ice cream. She goes, no, you
fool! And so I can't take the phrase carte blanche seriously anymore.
Without thinking about the ice cream.
It means blank check. I know what it means.
Yeah, and did you pick up on the part where Sawyer was gonna say, go fuck yourself?
No.
It's like right around about, I think it's the same scene or it's around then, where, oh god, I can't even remember how he leads into it, but he's like, Kate's like followed him or whatever, and then he goes like, well, you won't mind if I say go, and then she cuts him off.
Oh.
And I was like, we never get the F word in this show.
Tiny little cameo.
A cameo, yeah.
A cameo from the real swears.
That's so stupid. I don't know if I've said this before, but I personally believe that every show could be improved by letting the characters say fuck.
Especially kids shows.
Especially kids shows.
Imagine if you could hear Sporticus say holy fucking shit, dude.
That would be amazing.
How incredible would that be?
That would be incredible.
Don't know why Sporticus is my first thought cause, but actually, I stand by it. If I could pick one children's TV personality that gets to say holy fucking shit, dude, I would say Sporticus.
That would be hilarious as well, because he's so like, let's eat apples and be super healthy. He's like painfully good and nice.
Yeah.
So if he just went, holy fucking shit, dude.
And then does a backflip.
Yeah.
That's what I'm picturing. Like, he does a bunch of backflips, and then he goes, holy fucking shit, dude, and then does a bunch more backflips.
If I could pick one children's TV personality to say fuck, I'd probably go for Hacker the dog.
I was gonna say Hacker is my second choice, I think. Because he's an incredible guy.
As we know.
As we know, we did meet him.
Not to brag, gang, but we have met Hacker the dog.
I think we mentioned it on the week after we went to Comic-Con.
I mean, as if we could keep that information to ourselves. It's so exciting.
No,
I still think about it now.
He was so fun. He was so friendly. He was the loveliest guy.
Yeah, who should be allowed to say fuck in Lost?
Ooh.
If only one of them could.
If only one of them could. Is this like it's a one instance and then done scenario? Or is it like one character can say as much as they want and no one else can?
Do you have a line in mind that would be improved with the word fuck?
No. But I was just, this isn't the answer I was gonna give, but I did just think how funny would it be if the only English word Jin knew was fuck.
Perfect, 0 notes. I mean...
That's my new answer. That wasn't going to be my answer, but that's my answer.
That's the definitive answer. I mean, I think that's the end of the debate.
That's the answer to if one character could say fuck, who should it be? It's Jin.
Is the only thing he's picked up.
Yeah.
Like me when I was a baby.
Yeah.
Our mum, who is a legend and I hope will not be... what's the word?
Opposed?
She swears quite a lot.
Yeah.
And as a toddler, she swore so much around me that I used to say fuck's sake.
When Ariel was learning to speak, one of your like first words.
Yeah.
But the kind of baby babbling us's to say, they'd be like, what's she talking about? What is she saying? And then they realise you were trying to say fuck's sake. Because mum used to say it all the time. I mean, it's a byproduct, I think, of mum used to hold Ariel while she was napping and play like Resident Evil and like Silent Hill.
She certainly
while
did.
it was happening. And I think that's probably where you picked it up from, because she was probably like swearing
Angry
at the TV.
yeah, probably, yeah. Honestly, I think it, you know, they say that your childhood influences the adult that you become quite a lot, and I think
that's very true.
This is why I'm like, every single character should be allowed to say fuck. It's one of my favourite words.
It's a great
I love
word.
it.
It's a great word.
It's definitely my favourite swear word.
My favourite swear word is probably bollocks, but I don't say it very much.
You never say bollocks.
I don't say bollocks. I wish I said it more. I think bollocks is a really funny word.
It is.
And I really enjoy it. Like, always makes me laugh when everyone says it.
Yeah.
But I don't know about, like, the swear word I say the most. I mean, it's probably fuck. I mean...
Yeah. An era. A swearing era.
My swearing era. I went through a sort of period where I used to swear a lot, but not even for particularly... I just would use them as filler words.
Yeah. We've all been there.
All the time. But I'm not a big...
Mm-hmm.
I prefer to go down the route of, like, wildly ridiculous insults.
Yeah.
I call people nefarious a lot.
Oh, I love the word nefarious.
And I accidentally said it in a serious context recently, and I was like, oh god, I would just be like, yeah, up to nefarious happenings. Or also, like, if I'm trying to insult someone, I won't be like, you're a wanker. I'll be like, I'm gonna put you in a blender.
Yeah.
You know, you're going in the meat grinder, and that's the insult, you know?
Yeah,
I feel like I'm not big on...
No, those are more fun. Like,
so much more
calling
fun.
someone a silly goose, I love.
Yeah.
Because I always think about you, actually, whenever silly goose comes up, because I remember this one time where you so seriously said to me, go on, get in the pond. And I was like, what are you talking about? And you went, since you want to act like a silly goose. And I lost it, because it was the first time I'd heard that. I know it's a bit of a meme, but it was the first time I'd heard that. And I had no idea what you're talking about. It was so out of the blue, and I just absolutely
I remember that so vividly. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I was a big silly goose user for a long time. I don't really say it anymore, but I used to be.
We should bring it back.
We should bring it back.
That's our mission for 2025. Everyone,
bring back silly goose.
Bring back silly goose. If he went anywhere at all, I don't know if he did.
I don't know,
but we're gonna implement it more.
Yeah,
for sure. So,
who's the biggest silly goose of the Lost characters? My last question for you before we wrap things up.
I mean, it's difficult to find silly goose.
Someone who needs to get in the pond.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna go Kate, I think. I think she has the silly goose about her.
You know what? I'm actually kind of on board for that as an answer. I think it's something Claire would say to Kate.
Yeah. Absolutely.
She'd be like, go on and get in the pond. And Kate would be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
Our very own silly goose.
Too much goose talk. Feathers McGraw just fell over.
That was perfect. Imagine if we planned that. I did. I had a little string, little dental floss, just pulled him towards me.
You didn't see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, well, because on, like, pre-Homecoming, I would have said Charlie.
Yeah,
but
he's not really in his silly goose era
no.
anymore. I would say Boone is quite silly goose.
Especially in that bit where he tackles Michael.
Yeah, I think he's like, because he's tries to take himself really seriously. He doesn't accept his silly gooseness.
Oh, no. He's a serious goose.
He's
in
a
his
serious
mind.
goose.
He's a serious swan?
Swans are too scary.
Geese are fucking scary,
He's like
bro.
a duckling. Geese are kind of threatening.
Geese are terrifying.
Swans are scarier than geese, I'd say.
No, disagree.
I mean, scariest bird, turkey, obviously.
Well, I know you're frightened of turkeys.
They're horrifying!
But I think the goose is the scariest bird.
That's just because a goose stole your glove when you were 2 years old.
Yeah, trauma.
Scariest bird, turkey, but least scary bird... I find a lot of birds quite intimidating, actually. I don't
taking that clip out of context.
I just don't connect with them. You know, like, if I...
No, I don't know! You're talking absolute shit right now.
Like, I just don't really get the bird thing.
I'm sorry, I just don't really get the bird thing.
I don't get it. I don't get why people are so into birds. Because I'm just like, they're just quite freaky to me. It's like, you know, when you go into a pet shop and there's like a horrible screeching.
Yeah.
It's scary.
I mean, there are some birds that I love.
Maybe penguin, actually, least intimidating bird.
Apart from him.
Apart from this guy, obviously. But, I mean, generally, yes, penguins are great. I very much vibe with, like, crows and ravens. Yeah, but do you remember that's how I got attracted by a raven?
Yeah. That was hilarious.
It was great. It was actually really funny. Even at the time, it was really funny. There's this woman.
And she just threw a crow at me. Like, so they're blindsided by a crow from 12 o'clock.
There's this woman in the sort of Scarborough, North Yorkshire area. I don't know her name, but she keeps ravens.
She's my nemesis.
And she sort of takes them to, like, stately homes and, like, castle ruins and stuff. And she has, like, a collection box and she lets people take pictures with the ravens. You probably know the kind of person, like, it's like, happens with owls a lot.
Imagine if this is just a thing that's, like, in our region.
If anyone's from Knaresborough, you know the woman I'm talking about, because it happened in Knaresborough. And, I want to say 8 or 9, and I went and put money in the box, and I turned around so my mum could take a picture of me with this raven, and it fucking went for me. Bit me on the arm really hard, pulled out a chunk, because my hair was really long at the time, grabbed onto my hair. It literally had my hair coming from its beak. And you know what the raven woman does? She walks up to the bird, she goes, "It's okay, calm down," and kisses it on the head. And I was like, I'm sorry.
He's still my child.
Your bird, your familiar, just assaulted a child. And Mum was like, "It's alright, come on." She's like, "You okay?" I was like, "Yeah, it's fine, it didn't hurt." And she's like, "Why did she kiss her?" And I was like, "I don't know."
That's so funny.
But the best part about it is we have a picture of it.
We do.
Because she was taking a picture of me at the time. And so I have this great picture of me being attacked by a raven somewhere.
Oh, it was funny.
So I have beef with the species of raven. Yeah, I don't know about least intimidating bird that can actually fly.
I like owls as well. Owls are so
I actually
cute.
do like owls. Owls are
Yeah.
like objectively some of the worst predators in like the
Oh,
human.
yeah.
Not the human. What's the word?
Animal kingdom?
Yeah, that's not quite what I was going. The animal kingdom. But I do like an owl.
I don't think they will, like, if you're talking full scope of bird, eagles and vultures and shit.
Yeah,
Like, they're probably... In Britain, we don't really have...
in terms of British predators, owls are
scary
quite high
birds.
up there.
Yeah. But they're so cute.
But they are very cute. Do you remember that owl we met that, like, this is another... you know those bird people?
A separate but different bird lady.
Separate bird lady we saw in the York Museum garden. Had a bunch of owls, and it was like £5 to hold an owl, 15 if you wanted to take a picture with the hawk. And we didn't hold the owls, but there was this one little owl who was refusing to stand on its perch, and was instead standing on the floor and looked really grumpy. And we were like, he's gone, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
Standing around all day getting held by strangers. I'm not standing on the perch. I'm not going to look
get
nice.
up early for this. Yeah, we were giving this owl an internal monologue, basically.
And he was very cute. That's so my favourite bird.
Yeah, that one guy.
All the rest of them, scary. So what's a weird place to end it?
How did we get here?
Silly goose.
Of course. So, do we want to talk about the title now, or shall we save that?
We'll do it next week.
We'll save it for the top of... One thing we didn't say is that Homecoming is a shit title.
Homecoming is a shit title. Outlaws is also not great.
It's not great, but I understand it a bit more.
It fits with the tone.
Yeah, everyone's an outlaw. This is kind of like all the best cowboys. Who are the cowboys?
Yeah.
Kind of all of them are outlaws in a sense.
Yes.
In this episode, but I hate Homecoming. It's just stupid.
Yeah.
And in translation,
I like it in translation.
I do like it. I don't feel as strongly as I do about shit like whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But I'm not a huge fan, shall we say.
You can probably guess from context who in translation is about.
Oh, don't spoil
but we'll find out next week.
We will. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode.
Mm-hmm.
You can follow us at lostallcaps__ podcast on Instagram, lostallcaps.pod
on TikTok.
Something.
That's
TikTok. Lost All Caps
-podcast on Tumblr.
Lost All Caps podcast on Facebook.
And YouTube, I think it's just Lost All Caps podcast.
Yeah, probably. Hey, look, we trust you guys out there.
You'll find us.
To find us. Or we'll find you.
And Spotify, it's just Lost All Caps.
Yes, please give us a 5-star review on Spotify. It makes us so happy when we see them come in.
Remember to like and subscribe.
You can follow me at Ariel Hebditch. See, I keep things simple. Okay, I have the same username across all platforms.
That's, I think, because you have such a unique name, you can get away with it.
That's a very good point.
Because, miraculously, at Garlic Brad was already taken.
I mean, that is wild.
So you can, if you want to follow my drag account, it's gar.lick.brad.
Yes.
Because someone already took it.
That's better, though.
I think it's funnier. But also, someone had already taken Garlic Brad.
Which is mad.
Which is hilarious.
But nobody, thankfully, had taken at Ariel Hebditch. Surprise, surprise.
Shockingly.
So that's on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I'm going to be posting, like, stupid skits and videos, and whenever I have gigs, I'll be posting about that. Also follow at Spruce Moose Comedy, and I think it's at Spruce Moose Com on TikTok for some reason.
The same as the pod thing. Do they have like a character limit? Is that why we keep shortening things?
Fuck knows. Maybe that's not even right. I don't know. Spruce Moose, anyway, is my comedy troupe. We also post like dumb improv things, and we are doing a new show this year.
Yeah, keep an eye out for that.
Keep an eye out. That might be an exclusive. I may have not been supposed to reveal that yet.
Well, fuck that.
Okay.
You guys get to know
Look,
first.
I'm not exactly Tom Holland. You know, this isn't like an insane
Yeah, you're not about to get like,
press.
massacred by the Marvel police.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Well, you say that. Kit's gonna storm down our door right now.
We
We
can hear him. We can hear him knocking on the door to the studio.
Yeah, he's pulling up.
He's not happy.
No.
So we better go.
We better go.
And talk to him.
We've got to calm him down.
We'll see you guys next week. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much. Bye.